Hello, everyone. I am Lauren Van Hamert. This is Beltline to Broadway, and I am live with the super talented Felicia Finley, who is playing Truvy in the North Carolina theater production of Steel Magnolias. If you have any questions or comments for Felicia, throw them into the chat and we'll try to get to them. But Felicia, how are you this afternoon?
Well, we just finished blocking the final scene, and I am just a mess in a good way. It's a powerful piece, obviously.
It is a
So
powerful
yeah, it's
piece.
very powerful. So yeah, we've gotten through the entire show today, and I'm just blown away by the process, and I'm so happy to be in Raleigh. I can't stand it.
I love that, and I didn't realize until, like 3 minutes ago that you're from here, so I kinda thought you were a Louisiana, New Orleans girl,
Yeah,
but,
well, I'm not from Raleigh proper. I'm actually from up in the hills, Linville Caverns, 221, specifically 19E, if anybody knows where 19E is. So yeah, my family hails from a place called Cranberry, North Carolina. And I always tell people in North Carolina will probably understand I was the first generation born in a hospital.
Um,
Yeah, so I
yes.
come from, but my dad, 250 acres of farmland growing up, working, and then he got a job working the ports of New Orleans and Biloxi. So we split our time between North Carolina and Louisiana. So yeah, I got to, very grateful for that. A lot of good food and
A
good
lot
music.
of good food, I can only imagine. You mentioned this is a powerful piece, and so I kinda wanna start there, which is not where I was gonna start with this interview, but we'll just go right into it. I have to admit, and I think I was on camera with Eric Woodall when I said this initially, so, um, not a secret, but during COVID, when I found out that North Carolina Theater was doing Steel Magnolias, forgive me, I'm
Oh,
getting over COVID, so
and for real, like
for
I am so sorry. I'm
for
so
real.
sorry.
Wear a mask, y'all. It's not
Wear a
over.
mask, y'all. We
Wear a
test we
mask.
test all the time, and yeah, I'm so
Not
sorry.
fun. But
I'm
anyway,
glad you're on the other side.
anyway, I have to admit when Eric first told me it was gonna be Steel Magnolias in the season, I wasn't, thrilled, only because I felt like there had been so many incarnations of the show that it kind of I don't wanna say been overdone, but for lack of a better word, been overdone.
Mhm.
And here we are, though, in 2022, and I feel like women's rights are being so threatened, and all of a sudden, this story has taken on a new meaning for me. Do you all feel as you're working on this piece that there is a new kind of urgency or importance to it in 2022?
Well, how could you not? You know, it's yes, 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 yes. And I grew up in a world where when I was born into this place, I never had to think about that. It was never that, that had already happened. So, and of course, in the 80s, it wasn't a problem. So, yes, it's very, it's tough. It's tough to navigate this new world, and we do have a huge responsibility to recognize that and to admonish that. And yes, I appreciate you saying that. I really do.
And what I also think just resonates with people right now is that this is not only a female empowerment story, and I think that's why it lands with so many people because it's about women raising each other up, women friendship, um, but it's also about loss. Um, Although, I think everybody knows this, and then I took my daughter to see the show, um, a couple of years ago, and she had never seen the movie, and so she didn't know, and she just loved it, and at intermission, she kept saying, "What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?"
Mhm.
I thought everyone knew what was gonna happen, but I feel like there's this whole generation that doesn't.
Mhm.
There is, the idea or the theme of loss in this, and I think that will also land differently with audiences post COVID. We've lost millions of people to this disease, so or this virus, so I feel like that too.
Well, everything you're saying, uh, let's just put it this way, the onion's really peeled away now. It's very exposed. So, yeah, I think pre-COVID, it probably was overdone to an extent, but now the poignancy of it is palpable.
Absolutely, absolutely. I said to Maya before we went on air, I will bring my box of tissues because I have a feeling this one's gonna land a whole lot differently.
I'm ready. I just came from crying, so I'm ready.
Um, you said to Playbill in an interview that for you, laughter is like an adrenaline rush. When did you first realize that you were funny? Where does that knack for comedy come from?
Well, if you can believe this, I always call my mother the original Truvy. I grew up in Magnolia Forest in Louisiana, and she had a salon in our house, and she she's known for her one-liners and telling the truth, and she can cook up a storm, and I feel like I got my hand in the cookie jar a little bit because I'm just doing my mom.
I love that. I love that so much. I was gonna ask you, are you channeling someone you know from your past in either Louisiana or North Carolina?
Yeah,
And I love that it's your mom.
it's my mother. I grew up in a salon, uh, so I have a very interesting cross section of farming and salon and cruise. My dad ran ports of New Orleans, so I got all kinds of interesting backgrounds there. But this particular Truvy is a meld of my mother and then one of the girls that she worked with named Connie, and Connie was she would call it out, boy. She would call it out. And that's the thing about being in a salon. Well, I grew up in one, so it's very second nature for me to be in a salon. So my mother's one of the things she says, honey, if you can stand, you can sweep.
I love that.
I mean, and the one liners just keep on coming. But yeah, she was known a lot of times when you're under the dryer and people are trying to listen, and she goes, "Is this story about you?" No. This is none of your business, because people want to listen in salons. But also, I try to explain to people my mother's in people's wills too. So once you find someone that is your person when it comes to hair, that is your day, your time. And that's why it's such a big deal for Truvy to have to call, and say, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move your appointment because her Saturday has 3 women only in the neighborhood, and that's it. And they're her regulars. They come every Saturday, and don't mess up their times because they'll have something to say about it. So I'm very, very cognizant of all that striation. You know what I mean? And also, it's very important to make people when they come there. It's kind of like therapy. You sit there and people, blah,
Yeah.
they just unload. And that's what they should feel. It's a place of it's a safe place. It's a
Mm.
place where people can come and unwind, and it's their time. And you know, my mother, her name's Brenda Joyce. uh, I've been calling her a lot, going, "Mom, what about this?" Well, you better not put that there because the health department will come in and shut y'all down.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we're very specific about cleanliness and all that, and I can actually cut and color and all that stuff in real life. So I'm teaching everybody in the background how to roll, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And I think too, when you're doing a production like this, love is in the details.
Oh,
And so I love that you're bringing this personal experience to it.
oh yeah, it's very, very important. I mean, the shops have codes. You have to be clean, and this takes. We're putting it in the world, I believe, to be very specific. Uh, 82 to 84, early 84. Um, it could be, in that junket right there.
Mm.
And there was a lot of changes in hairstyle during that time. A lot. You went from kind of like the TJ Hooker look to like, flock of seagulls.
Oh yeah.
Like that. So it's a really important time for hair also, as far as the evolution of hair. So we've really historically, uh that aspect we've irised in on for sure. The specifics, it makes a difference. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that this is something that North Carolina theater is so good at, is throwing in those little details that make productions like this just so rich.
Well, Lauren Kennedy's just knocking it out of the park directing, and I've known Lauren a long time, and I'm just so thrilled to work with her, and have her eyes um, navigating this. She's really, this is her wheelhouse, and she's just, because I've known her, doing Broadway shows, and we're both from here. So when we were in New York together, we'd be like, "Oh, we miss our stars," like, we can't we can't see the stars. Something's wrong, and she's just doing a superb job. Really, really, truly.
We are so lucky to have her in this community, and Eric Whitall as well.
Who
Um,
I've known for a very long time. Also, so when Eric moved here, I was just thrilled for him. I was jealous. Well, I should say moved back here because they both moved back. But yeah, it's great to see Eric. Eric, he cast for Tara Rubin Casting for about over 20 years in New York, and he actually cast me as Tanya in Mamma Mia. So that's
yes,
how I know him. Yeah, he's
yes.
my heart. Hmm.
He is the Mamma Mia king.
Oh yeah.
Um, now you're talking about the hairstyles, the 80s and the 90s. Speaking of that, you originated the role of Linda in The Wedding Singer.
I had
Um,
the great honor of bringing her to life. Yes, I did.
oh my goodness, on Broadway. And that is based on the beloved film Steel Magnolias was actually a play and then became this movie that I think so many people just claim ownership to because it's such a favorite film for so many. Talk about the challenges of taking a beloved movie property like Wedding Singer, like Steel Magnolias, and bringing it to the stage for a contemporary audience.
Well, with the Wedding Singer, we started developing that in '04, and jukebox musicals weren't really they weren't as popular as they were then. And so Matt and Sklar, who also wrote The Prom and Elf, and some, just some really great pieces, uh, that was their first show writing together. And actually, the first character that they started with was Linda. And the very first song that he wrote was Linda's Note. And Sklar and I had worked together in a bunch of different shows at that point. And he said, and I had done a show called Forbidden Broadway a couple of times. And he says, I have this idea about these lyrics, and he goes, what do you think about it? And we went to a place called Ripley Greer, and we were kind of futzing around, and he said bum 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 bum, and he starts this melody, and I'm just sitting there, and he goes, to my dearest Robbie, I think we need some space. Please forgive my timing. Dot dot dot, smiley face. And I fell over on the floor, and I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard, because it's very 80s to say dot dot dot, smiley face. And it just kind of snowballed from there. It really was such a joy to bring that to the world. I mean, it's really done everywhere. And to see Linda, I just love when people call me and they're in a high school or wherever I'm like, go get them. I mean, it's my pleasure to do that, and to see it done so many places and enjoyed. It's a gift. But then as far as Steel Magnolias, it's all in the writing. The writing is so superb, and you just got to get out of the way of the writing and make sure that you're doing it justice by having every little word correct, because it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. So that is, it's a big undertaking, but I think just because of what it is, the younger audiences will feel exactly what we all felt when we first saw it and was experienced to it. It's timeless. It's timeless.
It is a classic piece, and I can say, having taken my daughter to see a production a few years ago, her experiencing it for the first time, she was in it. I mean, she was all in, and it kind of reminded me, like, "Oh, okay, this is being handed to an entirely new generation, and I
Yeah.
love this."
Yeah,
That's
and
the
the
mark of a classic.
colloquialisms are so funny, because Southerners can really, they can, as it were, turn a phrase, So that alone, it's there's that pathos, and comedy hurts. Real comedy comes from a very serious place, and so it should feel that line of pain juxtaposed with reality, which is what makes it funny. Because when you're not in it and you see people you know saying these ridiculous things, you're the voyeur, so you get to enjoy these funny women just talking.
It is truly like being being a fly on the wall of this
Yes,
salon. That's
that's
what it
perfect.
is.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
Um, is it easier to be funny or to play comedy in a musical than it is a straight play like this?
No, no, no. Comedy's comedy. It doesn't matter what facet of or genre it comes under. It's always, for me, you know, playing it as just as honest as you possibly can, and then that's where the comedy comes in. You never play for the laugh. You play for the moment.
And I think that's what makes it, the I think for Steel Magnolias, the humanity of it, the
Yeah.
real life of it, because
Mhm.
real life is funny and sad,
Yeah.
and all of the emotions in between, and the fact that he wrote this from his own personal experience, I think really resonates. I think that's why it lands.
And I think you're right. I think because it is a true story, and it that brings more of a responsibility for the players to play the honesty. Even though it's hilarious, to them it's just every day. It's every day. I mean, it's I mean, you have to remember, we never see a male ever in the play. You might see it in the movie, but in the play you never see the male, but they're always around creating some sort of, you know, some
Mischief.
sort of yes, yeah, mischief. And yeah, that's an interesting part of the dynamic also, is knowing that the men are kind of getting on our nerves in the background.
Yes. I totally agree. Um, I I I would be so remiss if I didn't ask you this, so I have to get to this question.
Sure.
Um, Throughout your career, I am blown away by the amount of greats you have worked with,
Ugh, you and me
including
both.
including Andre DeShields, Lilius White, and Gwen Verdon.
I got to work with Gwen Verdon.
I
Ah.
mean, you got to work with Gwen Verdon, and you told Playbill in an interview that she especially had this type of old school work ethic
Oh,
and bedside manner that is sometimes lost in this world of commercial theater now. So, how did working with her um and Cheetah I can't these names, these icons, how did working with them so early in your career, how did that inform the artist you've become?
everything. I had the uh, I had the great fortune of working with Cheetah, but and I should say, and Gwen, also Cy Coleman. It's amazing. Michael Blakemore, Ira Gassman, um, David Newman, who wrote Superman. I mean, these names are just just your brain. But the one thing I'll say that I carry with me is a couple of things. The first is you got to learn to get dirty and be less precious. Because what we're doing on stage, probably the reason we're on stage to begin with, something bad happened. The story is something happened. So here we all are. So it's not about you, it's about the story. So that's the first thing. And learning to get out of the way of any kind of, and I hate this word overused, but ego. You just got to kind of step away and let's focus in on why are we here and what is the storytelling. And then the second thing is, and it's something that Gwen would say also, which is, you're doing your job when you have a script that it just has all food on it. It just looks like, I should get my script, but it just looks like you've lived with it. You've lived with the script. Um, because this script and you are are navigating a story, and life is not pretty. Life is not perfect. And that's the disconnect I think we have a lot of times when I personally, I went to college like 6 months and then I headed out. And so I went right to work. And, you know, you don't have time when you're, especially working with people like that ilk. Um, you don't have time to make it about you.
Mm,
Um, and I find that lately people are little, uh, what's the right word? They're closed off. And I know we've gone through COVID and all that, but it's just important to just keep the focus on the story and
mm.
not the fact that I want to be in this Broadway show or whatever the job is. Yeah, it's I was very fortunate to have that as in my back pocket every day. It
Mhm.
really changes my purview and my outlook every single day.
So amazing, such amazing experiences.
Mhm. She
Um,
is funny. Woo, she's funny.
I just in the little snippets I've seen of her and the biopics of her, I kind of get that. She
Just one liner after very funny. Yeah, great, great, great. She was definitely a gal, and Andre and I got to do Damn Yankees together, and then I got to play Lola opposite him, which was that was that was just a gift. It still is. Yeah. So we had a really great time with that production. Yeah.
He's a treasure. I just saw him in Death of a Salesman. Woo!
Oh, you got to see him. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
oh,
Yay.
and Hadestown. I saw him when he was in Hadestown too,
Of
but I
course.
just whew,
I was
um,
I showed I always show him how to second line.
he just and Lilius, I did see the life.
Yeah, you did.
Many I feel like, I'm aging myself, but I did see the original Broadway cast of the life, and,
That's
I
amazing.
really loved it. The score of that show. Ooh, it's a good score.
It is. It's a
Um,
good score.
North Carolina Theater is having this amazing contest where people can nominate a steel magnolia in their life, a woman who's faced personal adversity and shown strength, courage, compassion, leadership. Who would the steel magnolia in your life be?
Brenda Joyce Finley, honey, all day long, every day of the week, 1000%. She is. I even put her in the in my bio in the playbill. I call her a true steel magnolia. She really is, and to have a mother, whew, yeah, to have a mother like a pillar like her, it's beyond a gift, and that's a good thing, having women in the South. Uh, there's just something so beautiful about the spirit of women, and but women, Southern women are just they're they're awe-inspiring, truly.
I as you're saying that, I think of Stacey Abrams, and
Yeah,
she just embodies that. She just yes. Um,
yeah.
Steel Magnolias opens Friday, and tickets are available now at northcarolinatheater.com. Um, I will put links and all of the things in the notes when I post this later. But this is such a joy. Thank you for hanging out with me. I have goosebumps just talking to you and about this amazing career of yours, and now it makes me so excited to see this show on Friday night.
Well, I'm the lucky one to. Completely my pleasure, and I'm so grateful for what you do, and I'm honored, honored, honored to be here. Thank you so much.
I love that. I saw Ryan Nixon. She posted. She was like, "I love this casting." She was in the production of 9 to 5 at North Carolina Theater and played the Dolly Parton part, Rosalie,
Yeah,
and so this
she
is
and I are
amazing.
good friends. She's a good friend.
um, So, if you joined late and you would like to see this interview from the beginning, you can watch it just as soon as we log off. And I know that this one is going to sell out because this is such a beloved story. So, go to NC Theater Now, the website, and get your tickets. And thank you so much, Finley. Happy Tech Week. I know you're just jumping into Tech Week, so happy Tech Week. I hope you grab some lunch, and thank you again.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Maya, if you're still watching.